just as Coach Underwood would have wanted. Late comeback by the Bobcats. I'm Todd Austin, the athletic director here at Plymouth Regional High School. I want to welcome you to the Plymouth Regional High School baseball field. Today we honor a man who spent 43 years coaching, mentoring, guiding, and loving thousands of student athletes. We'll hear from some of those athletes, friends, and family members this afternoon. Today is a celebration for Coach Tom Underwood. A man that touched so many lives through his work as a teacher and a coach. Not only did he coach baseball, but he also coached cross country, football, wrestling, basketball, and softball. His only purpose was for these athletes and students to leave him better than they arrived. When he wasn't coaching from the sidelines, you could often find him supporting other teams by being there as a fan, a scorekeeper, or a game official. Coach Underwood has done so much. How lucky are we that he chose our community as his home. We will start today with a few words from Chuck Lenahan. Chuck, as many know, was a colleague and friend of Tom's for many years. Coach Chuck Lenahan.
Hi, thanks, Todd. What a beautiful day, huh? Beautiful day. I thought Thomas would screw this up, but he didn't. Good job. Anyway, a few thank yous. One, of course, for our athletic director, Todd Austin, who put this thing together. I tell you, many, many hours, a lot of work. And I sure appreciate it. Everyone here, I sure does, and the Underwood family, Todd. Great job, Todd Austin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And our other big thank you to our principal, Bruce Parsons. Bruce was great. I met with him many times. Debbie and I be in there, and we come up with some unbelievable things. And his only answer every time was, whatever you need, tell me, we'll do it. So thank you so much, Bruce Parsons. How about our field here, the Park and Rec crew, the Park and Rec with Bobby and all his boys there. What a job, huh? Wow, up here. They were here last night till Sal was putting everything down there. What a good job, man. Those guys are great. Okay, a couple words about Tom Underwood. 43 years we coached together. I was 1 year ahead of him. I was the athletic director, and then comes this baseball coach. Holy, oh God, how do we ever make it together? I don't know. Oh boy. Anyway, 43 years. He was a teacher, coach, administrator, everything. And he coached anything. He was the backbone to my coaching staff. Wherever I needed anything, I'd go, Tom, and he never once said no. Never once. He started a boys and girls cross-country program, and I couldn't find anyone to get this off the ground. I said, Tom, he said, I don't know much about it, but I'll find out. Let's do it. So he did that. And then our junior high football program with lower numbers, I went and got him to do that. And in 40 short years, he turned it around to one of the best programs in the state. In the winter, he coached JV basketball, junior high basketball, and then we had to put him to the junior high wrestling because I was in trouble. Wherever we had trouble, well, we would tell him, listen, this is what I need. Okay. And of course, in the spring, he was pretty well taken up with baseball. He wouldn't help me out anything else, so. And then the summer, of course, he took all summer off and took his wife, Deborah, and they watched baseball games. Let's see. Little League games, Babe Ruth games, Legion games. He started the whole programs and did it all. Boy, I'll tell you, I cannot believe for 43 years you can coach 3 sports every single year, plus all summer. But he did it. He did it fantastic. And that's why we have so many people here today to honor him. What a great job. Now this is temporary, this vinyl sign we got up here. On top of the scoreboards, there'll be a nice wooden sign, bigger than that, and it'll be permanent, and it's going to say the same thing, Coach Tom Underwood, 43 years, 500 and some wins. I want to put the losses up there, but they won't let me. Now, the last 10 years, Tom and I, we retired together. And what did we do? Well, we got out our paintbrushes. And by a couple of years, let me tell you, we were known throughout the state. People trying to get us to paint their houses after seeing the job we did on ours. And then we went and got our leaf blowers. And he wanted to go into business there, doing the leaf blowing business. And then we'd work out together at a workout place 3 days a week. And thank God nobody filmed that stuff, I'll tell you. But once a week, we would live it up, baby. We would go to the Ashland Lumber, and we'd go across the street, across to Burger King. Burger King. And the best part was you get buy one, you get the next one for a buck, oh, baby. And in the winter, you had no place to go, so guess what? We'd take and we'd go to the Ashland Beach and sit in his car and eat our burgers. And the whole time we talk about where we're going to get our ice cream. Where are we going to get our ice cream? Oh, boy. And we'd finally find ice cream and everything. And finally, he'd say, we get home, and he'd say, I remember, don't tell Debbie I had ice cream. Don't tell Debbie. I said, listen, don't worry. I wouldn't tell anybody about what we did today. Oh, baby. But it was great, and like I said, he was a lot of different people, a lot of different things. To me, he was a great friend, and I miss him. Thanks.
Thank you, Coach Lenahan. That painting business never got off the ground because it took 6 years to finish one house. Next, I would like to thank Kingswood Regional High School for being part of this celebration. Athletic Director Aaron House, and our next speaker, Chip Skelly. Chip has coached Kingswood for 42 years and has over 400 wins. Many of those wins came against Plymouth, and they had many great battles on the diamond. Coach Chip Skelly.
I will tell you that talking about wins versus Plymouth, soon after when Tom retired, he called me up one day and said, hey, you know, I was looking at the wins and losses, and we had a 500 record, 37 wins, 37 losses against each other. I didn't really think too much of it. We continued with our conversation. I talked to him probably a month and a half later or so, and I said, hey, by the way, I checked the schedule, and we had 38 wins, and it was 38 and 36. He said, really? Oh, okay. Well, it took probably a year before I told him I was full of you-know-what, and he actually told me he was full of you-know-what, because he never checked either, so that was kind of the relationship we had. I do want to thank Plymouth High School for having us here today, and obviously the Underwood family for having us here also. I consider it an honor. 42 years for me, and this is my last year, so I can't think of a better way to end it, to be able to be here with you folks. It is kind of creepy. It is kind of creepy because there's a guy right over here that I idolized here. It's kind of nice to be able to stand up here with him and with Chuck. Had many attempts to try to beat Chuck. Didn't really happen too very often. But when I think about coaching, for me, I can kind of put it into one word after all these years. It's about relationships. I think I consider myself pretty lucky. I started in 1981 when I came up here, fresh out of college, pretty loud-mouthed. Not that I have stopped any of that stuff, but was out there, wanted to be a good coach, let's put it that way, and got a chance to get out there and see what was out there. And I think of John Cummings from Somersworth, Bob Burns from Kennett, Bill Dodd from Souhegan, and Tom Underwood from Plymouth seemed to be the teams that I was seeing a lot of at that time. And I kind of figured out as a coach, if I wanted to learn something about coaching, the heck with the guys on the field. I don't need to scout them. I need to scout the coaches. And I think some of the things that I do today, I can almost tell you where I got them from, and it was from a combination of those four guys. It's when I think of Tom, I can come up with three pretty quick words: professionalism, dedication, and the one that I did a little dugout creeping one time and listened to a speech he gave about respect. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, it was at Memorial Field in Concord, and it just happened to be no. I went over to his dugout on purpose just to kind of listen. And he was talking about respect with his players. And I took a lot from what he was saying. You don't need to like me, but you got to respect me. Respect is a two-way street. I really kind of thought about that a lot, and kind of brought that into what I would tell my players at the beginning of every season. And it was a special one this year. For some reason, we're in our locker room, very small locker room. I just had given the respect speech. I had a bucket of balls next to me, really weird. I was telling Coach Boyle this. I really almost felt like he was right here, right next to me, and telling me I did a good job. And these things that start to come up, start to happen. When Tom retired, we spent time on the telephone quite a bit. He also would come down to my office, and he would bring his bodyguard, Larry, and we would have some great conversations, none of which I could even share with you, or even think about sharing with you right now. But the thing that always got me, and it'll get me right now, is he always gave me a chance to talk about how proud I was of my family, and he in turn would talk to me about how proud he was of his family. We never ever forgot that, no matter what we were. You're all here. He was a great husband, a great dad, granddad, teacher, coach, but I consider it quite an honor to be able to say that Tom Underwood was my friend, and I'm going to miss him. If Billy Rollins, I don't know where he's located, did he sneak up here? If he would come forward, he's my assistant coach. He's been with me for, he tells me 28 years. I don't remember those first couple, but who knows here. Had really a special relationship with Tom, and I'd like him to say a couple words.
He's Abbott, I'm Costello. I'm going to talk today just about a few things that are memories. Some memories that I've had over the years about Tom and about school. And when I first started with Chip, we went to a meeting one day, and Tom and some of his coaches were there. And Chip introduced him to them, and they're going, "What are you at Kingswood for? You should be up in Plymouth." And I'm thinking, wow, this is the evil empire. And And they were the evil empire for the first 5 or 6 years of my coaching with Chip. There were a few times that I was on first base that I thought I was going to have to go over to third base to calm things down. But I really remember some of the players like Mike Boyle, Junior Medina, Zach Brown. And Zach was really one of my favorites because during that period of time that Zach played here, we would get to the game and here's Zach on first base during infield practice for Plymouth. And I'm wondering why is Zach on first when he should be pitching? So when we came out and I go out to first, I said to Zach, Zach, how come you're playing first base today and you're not pitching? He said, well, Tom doesn't want to show you guys any good pitching till we get to the playoffs. I thought that was kind of funny myself, but another time I can remember in '98, we played in the quarterfinals, and we got just beaten, a good old barn beating by Kennett. And I was sitting on the top step of the dugout, and all of a sudden this person came over and sat down beside me and put his arm around me. It was Tom, and he talked to me about winning games and losing games, how you should take them as a coach. And somebody took a picture of that with Tom having his arm around me. And I had it on my computer for a while as my background. And I finally decided then that Plymouth was no longer the evil empire because he called me Coach Beak. And nobody ever called me Beak, only my players did. So I'm thinking we're out of the evil empire era. So there's many other things that I could talk about. One thing was he always tried to get me to go fishing with him up in Canada. And fortunately, I have sleep apnea and I sleep with a mask at night, and there's no electricity in that camp up there. So I always use that for an excuse that I can't go, Tom. But our friendship was kind of special, and Larry Gibson's friendship was kind of special. And it's funny because you don't see them that often. But when you call them or you see them at a game, or they used to come to my office at my work, it was just like you picked up from where you left off. And I will always take that with me. That kind of friendship is really special. And I'll leave you with this one thought. Last night I was sitting watching the Red Sox, and I'm thinking to myself, I bet Underwood is up in heaven trying to tell God how to run his baseball team. And the thought I had was, there was a man on third, God was down by 1 run, and Underwood is telling him to squeeze the guy in. And God said, no, we're going to hit away here. And Tom kept after him and kept after him. And God said, okay, I got a plan for you, Tom. You're going down and you're going to coach the junior high girls softball. And I'll always miss him. And I thank Debbie and the family for the opportunity for me to be here today.
Thank you, coaches. Coach Skelly, you mentioned a lot of great coaches. And I want to say we're going to add Chip Skelly to that list. Coach Mike Boyle, PRHS, class of 2004. Mike played for Tom from 2001 to 2004 and became his assistant coach in 2011. Mike then became the head baseball coach at PRHS when Tom retired in 2015. Coach Mike Boyle.
Wow, what a day. I can't think of a better time and place to celebrate Tom Underwood than having a baseball game on a day like this. It's a field that knew him so well, surrounded by his friends, his family, and his former players. He wouldn't have wanted it any other way. And for this game to be played against Kingswood and his once heated rival turned great friend Chip Skelly couldn't have been scripted any better. I know if Tom were here, he would want to recognize Coach Skelly for his dedication and commitment to Kingswood baseball and the impact that he has had not only on his program, but on our entire division. Coach Skelly, congratulations on a historic career yourself. I know Tom had the utmost respect for you, and that goes for our entire program as well. Thank you. It's days like today where wins and losses become a little less significant. We know we're all here for something that's bigger than the game. Coach Underwood's legacy involves so much more than just being a head baseball coach. You've heard it over and over today. He was a math teacher, an administrator, a mentor, and most importantly, a friend to everybody that's here today. But among all of those titles, I think that what he was most proud of was being a husband, a father, and a grandfather. Mrs. Underwood, Tommy, Tara, Kyle, I think I can speak for everybody here when I say thank you for sharing your husband and your father with us for so many years. His impact goes so far beyond the baseball field, and that everybody here is a true tribute to that. I think you can see it all over the hill throughout the game. It was just incredible. When I heard the difficult news of Coach's passing, so many memories came rushing to mind. Most of them involved a lot of laughs in the coach's office, in the dugout, around the field. You know, whether we were doing the clock and the scorebook for the high school basketball games, as you heard today, Coach has done that forever, and that he was very proud about keeping a perfect scorebook. Some of the other memories weren't so funny. When I think back to my playing days when we made the postseason, and Coach would have us go on his infamous Miller runs, just to make sure that we were mentally and physically ready for the playoffs. I think if you played in the late 90s and early 2000s, you know what I'm talking about. He was hard on his players and students. He set high expectations, which is why he was so successful as an educator and a head baseball coach. Those high expectations and standards aren't always popular with young kids, but as showcased today with everybody here, those lessons in life have stuck with all of us. I will be forever grateful for his mentorship through the transition of becoming head baseball coach here at Plymouth, and how he trusted me to keep his program moving forward. Those are incredibly big shoes to fill, but he didn't leave them empty. His footprints are all over the field, in the dugout, and most importantly in that third base coach's box. So much so that every time we have a runner on third base, I can hear Coach's voice. Come on, Mike, put the squeeze on. I will cherish the pre- and post-game talks around the dugout, which a lot of times didn't have anything to do with baseball, mostly about these coveted fishing trips. I never got the invite on one of those, but I've heard a lot of stories about him. His larger-than-life personality, coupled with his storied career, made him a legend in every aspect of the word. He has had his hand in some form of baseball for as long as I've been alive, from Little League up through the high school ranks. Through his hard work and dedication, that is without a doubt how the words New Hampshire baseball and the name Tom Underwood will be forever synonymous. As we move forward, I think we can all take comfort in knowing that he's looking down on us, keeping a close watch on his Bobcats.
And for the times when he's off sneaking those infamous ice cream cones, coffee ice cream, we know that Mrs. Underwood will be standing her post in the corner of the bleachers like she always has been, supporting us. Rest in peace, Coach. We love you. You'll always be a part of our lives, our hearts, in this field. Thank you, Mike. Larry Gibson. Larry was a long-time Plymouth Park and Rec director. Over the years, working closely with Coach Underwood, the two became great friends. Next up, Larry Gibson.
Thank you, Todd. Deb, kids, the Underwood gang, thank you for letting me be part of this special occasion today in recognition and honor of my friend. As many of you know, Tom was my best friend. We were together so much, hardly saw one of us without the other. Our good friend Cabby deemed us Statler and Waldorf, the two old grumpy men from the Muppets. We loved to heckle others as much as we heckled each other. I have many wonderful memories of my friend Tom. His loyalty, friendship meant so much to me. I can recall one time during COVID. I was in the hospital for an extended period of time. No visitors allowed. Tom called me every day and asked me if there was anything I needed. One time I told him I ordered a salad for lunch and I would love to have 6 mini chicken wingdings to go along with it. Tom and I had a contact at the hospital that we could give my food to. When my food arrived in a large brown paper bag covered in grease, I knew something wasn't right. When I opened the bag, he had bought me 6 fried chicken breasts. Evidently, he forgot what the body parts of a chicken looked like. All I wanted was 6 tiny wingdings. My whole room smelled of fried chicken. I could hear the patients down the hallway saying to the nurses, "I smell chicken." I didn't see chicken on the menu today. Tom called me from the parking lot, making sure my chicken had arrived. I didn't have the heart to tell him there is a difference between wingdings and chicken breasts, because he was so proud he was able to give me what I needed. We took many road trips together. I often joked that Tom knew of every ice cream place in the state of New Hampshire and Maine, and they knew him. Together, we went to flea markets, card shops, shows, as well as many sporting events. Sometimes we would just drive around listening to oldies while we were solving the world's problems. I'll let you imagine what those conversations were about. For 30 years, we would head to Canada in June for our yearly fishing trip. I loved to pull pranks on Tom. That was one of my favorite things to do. On one road trip, Tom, Deb, and I stopped at a Motto Sub place for lunch in Maine. When we were leaving, Tom got up to use the restroom. I noticed he grabbed a newspaper and headed into the bathroom. This particular Amato's only had one bathroom to use. After I heard the door lock, I went over and sat down and waited and noticed that the light switch to the bathroom was on the outside of the wall. After about 30 seconds, curiosity got to me. I got up, went over, looked around, and turned the light to the bathroom off. I could hear a few choice words coming from inside the bathroom. Then I heard him clap his hands, so I switched the light back on. You can't make this up. I waited another 30 seconds, turned it off again, and sure enough, clap, clap. So I turned the light back on. By this time, Deb caught on to what I was doing, both trying not to laugh out loud. We did it one more time, and just like clockwork, clap, 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 I turned the light back on.
Deb and I headed to the car waiting for Tom. Once in the car, nothing was said as we headed down the road. About 5 to 10 minutes later, Tom said to Deb and I, "Hey, did you guys know that Amato's had one of those new light systems?" I played along. "It did? What are you talking about?" "Well, every time the light went out, all I had to do was clap my hand, and the light would come back on." I will never forget that. The union leader had a headline when Tom passed. It said, "Passing of a legend." They couldn't have worded it any better. We all know Tom's accomplishments on the field and impact he had with his players and fellow coaches. Tom was also a champion of kids off the field. Whenever a child needed help, Tom would step up to the plate, whether it was purchasing shoes, winter coats and hats, or simply adding a couple bucks to a kid's lunch account. Tom wanted to know, every kid to know they mattered. Looking around here today, you can clearly see the impact he had on kids, many of whom are here today as adults. Today, Tom rounded the bases for one last time. He is now standing on home plate watching over. You did well, my friend. Oh, what I would do for one more road trip with you. God bless you.
Thank you, Larry. Next up, Dan DeCenzo, PRHS, class of 1997. Played for Coach Underwood from 1994 to 1997. And he wanted me to let you know that they won 2 state championships while Danny was here. Dan DeCenzo.
We should have won 3, but we choked my sophomore year. So that year we were the 1 seed. We lost our first 2 games. Coach Underwood had a lot of choice words for us. We won 16 games in a row, then 2 in the playoffs to make it 18, and then we choked in the semis. So that's life. Fortunately, though, we won the next 2, and couldn't win any better. First, I want to just congratulate the baseball team today. I've not been back to a game in 5 or 6 years. I try to catch games. What an awesome game today was. The team should be very proud, the coaches. I loved watching the guys compete today. Seeing them stand here today like gentlemen. I just love the way they competed on the field. I saw multiple guys get hit with pitches as if they practiced it. That's a long-standing tradition here at Plymouth for about 40 years. They took it. One guy threw his bat 20 feet and celebrated. He's like, "That's what I was supposed to do." So just really impressed with the group of men today. Love that they were down 6-3, scored 7 runs, and just an awesome win on a day when we're celebrating one of the best men to be in this community. So again, congratulations to the team. I think right now they're 8-2. They remind me a lot of our group, and I think they have a lot of talent, so we're excited to follow their season the rest of this year. Next, I was very fortunate. I had outstanding mentors in my life, starting with my parents, but just great coaches. I played for Coach Lenahan in football, one of the best all time. Great to see him today. I then got to wrestle for Coach Cleary, another great mentor, and a guy that's impacted my life heavily. And then Coach Underwood in baseball. I've been fortunate and blessed my entire life. I don't think this community gets any better. I think this community is strong. My family and I have seen it firsthand. And just to see the outpouring support for Coach today is just an amazing thing. And I recruit kids from all over the country in the job that I'm in now. And this community, there's nothing better than Plymouth. There's nothing better than this community than the people that are here. And I'm very proud to be from here. So it's just great to see the fans and the group today celebrating Coach Underwood. I I could talk a lot, so I'm going to keep it short. I just want to share 2 stories with you. One, my junior year, we're playing Souhegan in baseball in the semis, and they have a pitcher who was drafted in the 16th round. He was a lefty, he threw like 90 to 94. So Coach Underwood came in before, when we meet in the locker room before we head down to Concord for the state playoff semifinal game. And he has this recording of him, Coach Dodd, the head coach of Souhegan, and a moderator. And he plays it for our team. Now, I went to Plymouth Elementary School, so when he started the recording and the coach for the other team was Mr. Whitney, my music teacher, I knew right away that this was not a real recording, okay? Now, Zach Brown, our best pitcher, he transferred in freshman year when his dad took a college football job in town. So Zach did not know Mr. Whitney. We're a regional high school, so about 3/4 of our team did not recognize the other 2 names on the recording. Myself and Jamie Clark looked at each other. As soon as it started, I just put my head down because I was like, I'm not going to laugh because I'll just blow it for everybody else. This goes on for 5 minutes. It talks about how I'm a bad player, Zach Brown stinks, Junior Medina can't play, Mike Ullman's overrated, all these, John Perry doesn't throw hard, all these things. So, it finished, I just think everyone's going to be laughing when I pick my head up. Zach Brown is fuming. He's like, I'll fight anybody. We're going to kill these guys. And like 5, 6 guys are all wound up. I'm like, guys, we're not even playing for like 3 hours. Like, you don't get so wound up. So I'm the last one to leave the locker room, and I just hit Coach on the shoulder. I'm like, hey, Coach, how's Mr. Whitney doing? He goes, Danny, that's our little secret. We went out, we beat Souhegan 2-1. Zach Brown pitched a complete game. The best part about it is poor Coach Dawes on the other sideline. Whenever Brownie would strike someone out, he would start yelling at the Souhegan dugout. He's like, you don't think I'm any good? I don't throw hard enough? And I'm like, geez, he's got no idea what's going on. So poor Coach Dodd was on the other end of that. It wasn't really his fault. But that was a great ending to it. And again, we went on and won the state there my junior year. Another thing, just speaking on the community, before we played that game, I think 6 or 7 different alums who had played for Coach the previous 15 years came back to throw batting practice for us. So if you were left-handed and could throw over 80 miles per hour, he wanted you here if you could throw 10 pitches, 50 pitches, 60 pitches. And all these alums came back and threw as hard as they could for as long as they could so we could get ready to play this great pitcher on Wednesday. And that stuck with me. Just that these guys didn't have to do that. I don't think they had to throw their arm out during the week to a bunch of high school guys, but they did it because they cared about the program, they cared about the community, and they cared about Coach. That was the type of guy that he was. I take a lot of pride in playing at Plymouth. Now that I'm a father of 3 boys and they're young, I'm a really good father. My middle one broke his leg a month ago, so I'm doing a great job. But I just can't imagine how great it was for Coach to coach both Tommy and Kyle in high school. That's a special time, and the fact that he got to be with them and coach them and see their teams have success, I think that's something that I know Coach cherished, and I know Tommy and Kyle did as well. The last thing I want to mention is, behind the scenes, Mrs. Underwood doesn't always get as much publicity as her husband does. She was at every game. At every game, every practice, she treated us as we were her own family, and just an amazing woman that still, when I have a milestone in my life, she reaches out. She has been, to so many kids that have come through this program, just a huge supporter, and just an amazing woman. And I'll tell you, after this memorial, and things quiet down, there will be tough days ahead. When you think about the person that you've cared about and they're no longer with you, just know that you have an awesome community here. And everyone here wants to help your family any way we can. And if you need something, you can reach out to anyone here. And I've seen it firsthand how amazing this community is. So, God bless, Coach. We love you.
Thank you, Danny. Let's not forget that Tara also kept the scorebook for her dad. Next up is Mark Fischler, class of 1989. Mark played for Coach Underwood from 86 to 89. Prior to that, he played for Coach under the Babe Ruth League. Mark Fischler.
So Debbie, Tom, Junior, Kyle, Tara, your families as well as Tom's family that's here today, we all share in the heartbreak of the passing of a great son, brother, husband, father, coach, teacher, and leader. It's hard as hell to accept that you aren't here with us today, Tom, but I'm confident in some way you are. I mean, where the hell else would Coach be than with the people he loves? Kingswood versus Plymouth, hot dogs and burgers. Come on, you know Coach is here, and that comforts us. I was thinking about the first time that I had heard about this Coach Underwood. I actually knew an Underwood. She was my kindergarten teacher at Holderness Central School, but I had heard about this Coach Underwood. I remember I was at the Clark's house, the Chris and Eileen Clark house on High Street. I was being babysat by Debbie, and then Chris Jr. came home from one of those practices in the 1970s. He was fired up. Balls were flying around. He was describing to me this coach who was intense as all heck and demanding excellence from his players. I was 7 years old and I was like shocked. I was like, wow, somebody cares so much about excellence. And I knew right then, I hope to God I got to play for that man. So the next time I saw him was I was trying out for Little League Baseball. It was on this field. I was over there in left field fielding balls at this time, and he came over and he put his arm around me and he told me I had a lot of potential, and that was just it. I was just in love with Coach Underwood. So that was Tom, right? Charisma, intensity, commitment to excellence that made him a Hall of Fame coach. Rarefied air for a coach to win as much as he did. But that was only part of Tom. And I might say it might not be the most important part of Tom. Tom's most important part to me was that he was there for kids in our community who didn't grow up with much. Who in this community doesn't remember Coach Underwood driving around in his Mr. Baseball license plate with a group of kids in the car who had nothing to do with baseball? He'd buy them outfits, take them to events, dinners at his house, ice cream, chips, food at school, you name it. Tom literally gave the kids of our community the shirt off his back. He steered them to good lives. And folks, at the end of the day, the memories of great victories and painful losses will fade, but the character of a man endures, who devotes himself to ensure those with less improve under his care. That says it all about Coach Tom Underwood. And we, ladies and gentlemen, are a better community because of it. A final memory that I have that reflects his commitment was my senior year. We were the 10th seed, and we scrapped and made it to the championship game. Our senior class trip that year crossed over with the potential practices that we needed to make to prep for the championship. Tom promised the seniors a special trip if they were okay with missing our class trip, which I think was a river rafting trip up in Maine. Well, Tom, to his credit, brought a group of us up to Montreal, mixed with students who weren't on the team that he took care of, an all-expense paid trip to see the Expos play the Giants and take a little bit of life north of the border. We couldn't lift our wallet for anything that day, and we had a blast. Thank you, Coach, for that experience. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us celebrate not only a great coach, but a great human being. May his memory be an example for all of us to support those who need a little extra support for whatever reason, and to better our community in the process. I love you, Coach, forever.
Thank you, Mark. Next up is Aaron Como. Aaron is currently the president of the Thundercats Youth Baseball Association. He played for Coach Underwood from 1985 through 1988. Aaron Como.
Thank you. It's truly humbling today to see the crowd that's here for Coach Underwood. And for me personally, to walk around and see all the past Plymouth greats, the athletes that played here in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, up until current. And I'm really humbled and grateful that I was asked to speak here today about Tom Underwood. But I'm going to give you a little bit of dirt today, probably more than anybody else. So I first met Coach Underwood in the spring of 1983. I was a 13-year-old boy, this little hayseed from Wentworth, New Hampshire, who came here to try out for Babe Ruth baseball. I played in Wentworth, so in Little League, I played up there in the Connecticut Valley League. So in order to play more baseball in the summertime, when I turned 13, I had to come down here and play Babe Ruth. So my dad brought me down to try out for Babe Ruth baseball. Now, listen, I had heard the rumors about Coach Underwood, about how hard he was and tough he was. But I was a little full of myself, so thought, how bad can it be, really? So I can tell you that in the first 3 seconds of meeting him, I knew those rumors were all true. Every one of them. I was standing up here by these bleachers with my dad. This young boy pulls up on a 10-speed bicycle. His glove is wound onto the handlebars. His hat is backwards. And we make small talk. He introduced himself, tells me he plays for the middle school, plays for Coach. Coach is tough, you better be ready, you better be prepared. Soon enough, he says, oh, here he comes now. And I see this man come out from these doors up here at the school, because the elementary school used to be up here. And I can instantly tell by his gait that he's got some serious intent coming down the hill. He's got his clipboard in his hand. He's got a matching polyester jumpsuit on. His hat is down. He's got these beady eyes that are just piercing. I swear his shoulders were 2 axe handles wide. Absolutely huge. He comes down over the gate, and he has some intent, like I said, to his walk. He walks right by me, and with a firm palm hand, he knocks this young boy right off his bicycle. All the while, he's spitting venom at him about how he is obviously not ready for practice, and you got your hat on backwards, and only catchers wear their hat backwards, so turn your damn hat around. I knew then what I was in for. I learned 3 things that day about Tom Underwood. 1, he's in charge. 2, he's in charge. 3, he is in charge. He was always organized, and even the smallest details were accounted for. Nothing got overlooked, nothing got forgotten. I actually learned several other important, useful things from him over the course of several years. Like, you can actually field a baseball with your bare hands. Because, in his words, if you don't want to use your glove, then take it off. A fungo bat has other uses other than hitting baseballs. It can also be used as a disciplinarian device or motivational device across your backside. And it works. Lastly, he had superpowers of the mind. He would very directly and deliberately explain to you in his stern voice exactly how you were going to perform and get something accomplished, and he would end it with, get it done. And you did. 98% of the time, you went out and you actually performed exactly the way he told you were going to. Unfortunately, today, I don't think a lot of kids could handle the type of coach that Coach Underwood was. His practices were hard. They were intense, because it was quite simple. If you practice under pressure, you will perform under pressure. It's that simple. In those times, though, we needed that. Me and my friends needed that type of discipline. We needed that type of coaching. As a matter of fact, we talk about it today, and we actually wear that as a badge of honor that we played for him. And when people say, oh, you played for him in the 80s, Oh yes, we did. I speak for all of the players in the 80s. We loved it, we ate it up, we absolutely would not have wanted it any other way. In all seriousness, most of us owe a great deal of thanks to him for setting us up for life's challenges. His lessons on the field would apply to challenges lying ahead in life. He was hard on the field but cared deeply for his players. He rarely, if ever, attended a high school graduation because he could not watch his seniors leave. He didn't want his seniors to see him shed a tear. He supported many young men through troubles, trials, and tribulations. He always maintained his poise and character in times of trouble. One such time was in the spring of 1987. Shortly after the season ended, we lost a beloved friend and teammate, Robbie Paquette, in a motorcycle crash. I'll never forget how he brought us all together to give us the news. He held complete control and composure. Over the next few weeks, he guided us through the process of saying goodbye to our friend, and he virtually held us together. 17 and 18-year-old boys dressed in baseball uniforms as pallbearers, carrying their friend to his final resting spot. Coach was our rock. Over the years, I maintained a close relationship with him and Deb. They've seen me grow into a man. They were attendees at my wedding with Angela, and they know all of my children, having coached both my sons. I have served on the board for Plymouth Babe Ruth for the past 8 years with him. He asked me to be the president when the previous president stepped down. I did not hesitate. I felt a strong need to give back to the program and him for everything that he had done for me. I know that my fellow board members, Tom Donahue and Paula Tanner, feel the same way, and he is deeply missed by the Thundercat baseball program. Tom Donahue has been with the program for over 25 years, and his loyalty to Coach Underwood is unmeasurable. Coach Underwood organized, maintained, oversaw, and served in many ways in positions for Cal Ripken, Babe Ruth, Senior Babe Ruth, Junior Legion, and Senior Legion baseball for over 40 years. His commitment to baseball in the Plymouth area and in the state of New Hampshire is unmatched. His reach was long, and his influence on the game even longer. His impact will be felt for many years to come. In closing, I say that Tom Underwood descended from the baseball gods themselves. His stare was glaring, his grip was firm, his mind was focused, and his roar was long and loud. Right now he's coaching third at the Field of Dreams in a cornfield somewhere in Iowa. Godspeed. I love you, Coach, and I miss you.
Thank you, Aaron. Next up, Don Clark, New Hampshire State Babe Ruth Commissioner. He's here to present the Underwood family with an award on behalf of the Babe Ruth Commission.
So as he said, I'm the state commissioner for Babe Ruth. I've been that for 25 years. I've known Tom for at least 35 years. He has a passion for Babe Ruth baseball, in addition to the others that you heard about today. He basically took over and said, I'm going to organize the North Country Babe Ruth, and he did that. It was a big help, and it's still going strong. I'm here with one of Tom's other district commissioners, George Manley, to present to Deb this plaque, which basically is a Hall of Fame plaque, elected in the Hall of Fame. It's a privilege for me to be able to honor Tom with this. I'm going to read it. Presented to Thomas Underwood Jr. in recognition of your induction into the Babe Ruth League and Corps.
New Hampshire Hall of Fame for your devoted time and dedicated efforts that you have generously provided to the program. Babe Ruth Baseball, Cal Ripken Baseball. I'm sure there's more. I had 1988 to 2022, but I just heard a reference to 1982, so that was before my time.
Right.
He was there for me. He would go out of his way to help, and I thank him for that. And that'll do it for me, because we got to wrap this up.
Thank you, Don. Our next speaker is Tara Custer. Tara is the daughter of Tom and Debbie Underwood. Please welcome Tara. Say a few words about her father.
Thank you all for being here today. Seeing so many faces that my dad loved and cared for is humbling. I hope you all know that you are here today because he touched your life in one way or many ways. He had that gift. I want to start off by sharing about my special relationship with my dad. He was the greatest man I've ever known, and I'm so lucky I got to call him Daddy. I hope these stories bring you comfort and joy. I believe we are all connected in ways we don't always realize. A few years ago, my mom found her freshman year college planner. She wrote down that she met Tom on September 14th, 1970. I was born on September 14th, 1989. Mom told me the night she went into labor with me, she was putting chicken pot pie in the oven. The last meal I made for Dad was chicken pot pie. Isn't that bizarre? Some people would say it's coincidence, but to me it affirms Dad and I will always be a part of each other, and it brings me comfort. I was his only girl, and Dad knew how to spoil me like a dad spoils his only daughter. He cherished me and loved me. He always found time to do things with me, even though it was a bit different from the things he would do with my brothers. For example, we loved puzzles, and oftentimes would trick one another by hiding pieces so we could say we put the last piece down. We loved baking. Well, I loved baking, and he loved eating my creations, especially my apple pie. We both loved old things and finding treasures, or as he and Larry called, picking. Some of my earliest memories of Dad are going to baseball games and running out to give him a hug before the game started. Riding in his car, listening to oldies. When Brown Eyed Girl came on, he would blast it and sing it to me. That is our song. I was never really into sports, but field hockey was my sport. Dad never missed a field hockey game. He set up a winter field hockey team in a league so we could practice off-season. He helped get us into team summer camps, so we were a bit ahead by the time fall practice started. In high school, he would drive me in the ghetto glider, which was his old car. It was a very cold winter day, and he dropped me off in front of the high school. As he started driving away, I heard a noise. I looked, and the muffler had fallen off and was dragging on the ice, and sparks were flying. I ran so fast into the high school, hoping no one saw me, completely embarrassed. That day he got home from school and was laughing. Dad and I also loved to tease one another. He would bug me about something and I would tell him something right back. One day I was with my mom and Dad had a pair of shoes that were starting to fall apart. He was mad because they were newer and shouldn't be doing that. We went to Dexter's Shoes because that is where he thought the shoes were from. He walked up to the front sales desk with the box tucked under his arm and in a very stern voice said, "These shoes are falling apart and I would like to return them or get my money back." The lady looked at him and calmly said, "Sir, I understand, but these shoes are from Bass." My mom and I had everything in us not to laugh. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry," and walked out. We got into the car and my mom and I laughed and laughed. we still teased him about the Dexter shoes incident years later. Dad always wanted the absolute best for me, even in my adult years. In 2021, we bought our house. When moving in, Matt casually mentioned how he didn't like the popcorn ceiling and would one day like it replaced. Within that week, Dad had someone scheduled to come and take care of the ceilings. He also replaced all the trim and painted our walls. We were careful what we said after this, knowing Dad would make it happen. A few days before he passed, I spent the weekend with my parents. We finished a baseball puzzle together. I cooked him chicken pot pie. We fed the birds, and before I left, he said, "Aren't you going to eat lunch with me?" When I was leaving, he gave me a giant teddy bear hug, kissed me, and said, "I love you." I smelled his Old Spice the entire way home. It was the perfect last day with him, and I will treasure that for the rest of my life. 4 years ago, my husband and I decided to move back to be closer to my parents and family. I am so glad we moved when we did, because for the last 4 years, I've been able to see my dad whenever I wanted to. We have made the most amazing memories, and he was able to see my son grow up over the last 2 years. I share these stories with you to share how great of a dad my dad was to me. It was not always easy growing up. I remember not eating dinner until after 7 or 8 most evenings, as we all got home late from sports. Dad was tough on us, and some days were hard. I think as a child, we all have moments growing up where we remember hard days and how tough our caregivers could be on us. I'm really grateful Dad was also loving and sacrificed a lot for me, because I know not every child has that kind of childhood. Many of you may not realize my dad grew up without much. While his family didn't have a lot, they had each other, and that was the most special gift. I think that inspired him to want to provide more for his family one day and to become a teacher. Maybe this is why he so often paid more attention to the kids who were going down the wrong path or didn't have a lot. He wanted to care for them and provide hope for them. We all know the sports stories about him. He was incredible at what he did, a legend, truly. But what has meant more to me and my family over the last few months have been the stories about what kind of teacher and person he was to many young children and young adults. We have received story after story about how Dad saved them as they were going down the wrong path, how Dad gave them hope when they were at their lowest, how Dad took an interest in them even though they didn't play sports, how Dad was a hard ass in old school, but he was because he wanted to push you to be better and to change your story, how he stood up for the kids who were being bullied or picked on, how he would eat his lunch in the lunchroom every day with his students because he knew how important it was to spend time with his students, not just in the classroom. So many of you have shared how Dad was your favorite teacher you ever had, or that you became a teacher because of Dad. These are the stories that have meant more to me than any of you know, because my whole life it was always about Coach Underwood, the famous Plymouth baseball coach. But now I see his legacy spans further than I ever imagined. My daddy did more than most people do in their lifetime. He touched lives in ways we never understood. It was just a part of who he was. Not only was Dad that person to his players and students, but he was also that person to their families. Dad always mentioned his family at the end of his speeches, so I want to end doing just that. Chuck, Vicky, and Todd, Dad loved each of you with his whole heart. As the oldest, he always looked out for you three. I know you have stories to remember how he stood up for you. He loved family reunions the most and all being together. Hold on to those special moments growing up together, and they will help you get through each day. Greg and Jim, Dad loved you both. He loved seeing you and visiting. He knew how special you were to Mom and always loved when Mom was able to spend time with her brothers. Amanda, Matt, and Corey, Dad adored each of you. He was so happy his children found people who truly care for them. We have so many memories together, and I hope you know that seeing his children be loved and have families was his greatest joy. Ava, Thomas, Grace, Riley, and Weston, you all made Grampy smile. He loved spoiling each of you. Ava and Thomas, Grampy was so excited you both were getting into baseball and softball. Hold on to all of those trips that you spent time with Grampy and Grammy, the games he would drive up to watch you play in, fishing at the lake, the math workbooks, the baked goods, Grace, Riley, and Weston, while you may not always remember Grampy, we will continue to share stories and pictures. A part of him lives inside of you. You each remind us of Grampy in some way, and we will treasure that for the rest of our lives. Tommy and Kyle, I don't even know where to begin. I know growing up wasn't always the easiest, but it is clear that Dad helped shape us into who we are today. I know we have loved all of the memories and time spent with Mom and Dad. They were what we looked forward to the most. We have supported one another in ways I never even imagined we would have to over the last year. You have both been my rock. I love you so deeply and am so proud of the dads, husbands, and friends you are. Thank you for being my brothers. Mom, thank you for choosing Dad. Thank you for providing us with the life we have. Dad loved you, and you were his special gift in this life. Now I can understand that more than ever. You are the strongest, most beautiful, and kindest woman, and Dad knew that. He was the lucky one. What you and Dad have built is here today. Look around. Your family, the community, past baseball players, friends, even once rivals of Kingswood. Your love and support of Dad over all the years made him who he was. You were his rock, his guiding light. Thank you, Mom, for who you are and the amazing support you have given us all. Dad would want us all to live out his legacy, care about people regardless of their occupation or status in life, commit to following through and put in the time to make things happen, go home and love your families well, live each day to the fullest, continue on with this legacy, the Tom Underwood way.
Very well said, Tara. Next up is Tommy Underwood. Tommy Underwood is Tom and Deb's oldest son. Not only is he Tom's son, but Tommy also had the pleasure of playing for his father here at PRHS from 1996 to 1999. Please welcome Tommy Underwood.
Thanks, Coach. Hello, everyone. I am Thomas George Underwood III. As most of you know me, Tommy. My family wants to thank you all for your support today. I was always told that you can tell the impact someone's had during their lives at an event like this. I can tell you, I am very proud of my father today. I don't have much to say. I feel like the other speakers did a wonderful job, and I knew they would. I'm actually standing in front of you today to say a couple words on behalf of my father. He wants me to tell you a couple things. He wants to say thanks for taking a chance on a young 21-year-old kid out of college. He wants to say thank you for sticking with him as he built his classroom environment and his sports programs. Many would consider those classroom environments wonderful, and some of these sports programs, as you've heard, as a form of a dynasty. He wants to thank you for your support as he did things the way he saw fit. As Aaron mentioned, they probably wouldn't happen these days, but this community supported him from day one, and he's very grateful for that. From what I've been told, there are many parents, grandparents, kids, great-grandkids who seem to like the result. He wants to thank you for your continued support of his wife Deb in his absence. He wants to thank you for your support of his children. Most importantly, he wants to thank you for making his dreams come true. If you were to ask the young Tom Underwood Jr., as he packed up and headed to Plymouth at the age of 21, what a perfect life would look like, this was it. Thomas George Underwood Jr. thanks you all very much for making his dreams come true. He wants me to tell you that he will miss you. But he says, hey, come on, keep your head up. We still got more to do. The entire Underwood family would like to say to the entire regional community 2 words. My grandfather taught it to us. We want to say thank you, and we want to say we love you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Tommy. At this time, I'm going to ask Coach Lenahan and Coach Tom Donahue to join me up here. We at PRHS wanted to provide a gift to the Underwood family. The scoreboard you see behind me will be a permanent structure at the top of the scoreboard. As soon as it's done, we're going to hang it, and we'll have another celebration at the beginning of next season. We also wanted to provide a gift. It's a painting entitled Get It Done. It was painted by Plymouth Regional High School art teacher Mary Boyle. It shows Coach Underwood doing what he loved the most, coaching baseball. Mary captured Coach Underwood perfectly. Deb, Tommy, Tara, and Kyle, please come up and accept this gift. What a great day. Finally, I want to thank you all for being here, all the support you've provided the high school over the years, and to Coach Underwood, we will miss you. Thank you.